goodness, you're beautiful.
Hi everybody, it's Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary, and today we welcome a new member of our family. We're adding an additional corn snake to our cadre of corn snakes that we already have. Her name is Nyssa, and she arrived here this morning safe and sound from Silent Hill Reptiles. They did a fantastic job of sending paperwork with her. It's got her lineage information, all of her genetic information in it. It has information about her parents. It's got the date that she picked and the date that she hatched, and then all of her sheds and all of her feeding history. And I really appreciate that detailed record keeping. So we're going to get her enclosure all set up for her, and she will be in quarantine. We quarantine for a minimum of 3 months here, and we're going to go ahead and quarantine her in the enclosure that she's going to live in until she outgrows it, but she will be in a different room from our other corn snakes until she clears quarantine. I'm going to first get her cage card ready, and on that I will put her name, her hatch date, the date she arrived here, where she came from, and I will also put any information about sheds, weights, and her feedings on here. And I keep a running tab. And then when this is filled, I just put a new card on and I take the old card off and I put it in a file that I keep on each snake. So the first thing that we will put on here once we get her out is her weight. Now she's going to be temporarily, well, until she outgrows it, in a 10-gallon aquarium. And I have in the back corner an under tank heat mat that will stay on all of the time. During the day, she will get a light that produces a small amount of visible light and UVB light, UVA light, and a little bit of heat. This will only be on during the day just to simulate what she would experience outside in the natural sunshine. But of course, she'll have hides and deep aspen bedding and places where she can get away from that light if she doesn't want to be out exposed to it. I am going to go ahead and put some deep aspen bedding on the warm side. So this warm side, the under tank heater only takes up a small rectangle. The rest of the floor will be cool. So I like to put the aspen bedding over the heater as well as in at least half the tank because corn snakes like to burrow. So we're going to put that in part of the tank. And then on this other side, I'm going to put some forest floor bedding from ZooMed, and that's the side that I like to put the water dish on because this can stay a little damp. And so what I normally do, and this is cypress mulch, is I put a little bit of this in one part of the tank. Now she can still burrow under this and climb around on it if she wants, but I like to put the water dish in this part because if some of the water overflows or splashes out, this forest floor bedding is okay to get a little damp. It's okay to get a little wet. In fact, when you open the bag the first time, you'll feel that it's already damp when you open it. So she's going to have some of this cypress mulch forest floor on part of her enclosure, and then the rest is going to be this aspen bedding. And this is going to be where her warm spaces, and then over here we'll put her water, but it will also be a place that will be a little bit damp and cool that she can get away from the warm end if she wants. And all of the items going in here will be for her alone. If she transfers to a new enclosure, these will either be thrown away or go with her. She's getting a hide here, and she's also getting a paper towel roll. So what we've got in here for her is she's got aspen bedding on the warm end and on part of the cool end. She's got a hide on the warm end. She has a paper towel roll. She's got a couple of perches with some fake vines. Her water dish, I'm putting on the cool end of the enclosure, and that's also the end that I put this cypress mulch forest floor bedding on, and that way if some of her water spills or I overflow it when filling it, it's not going to matter if it gets this part of the bedding damp. Then she's going to get a moss box or a humid hide to use if she wants it. Always like to put one of these in here. And then she's going to have another hide, and that fits right on top of the moss box. So she's able to climb into this elevated hide and get into her moss box if she likes. I'm going to cut this in half, and that way she can have part of this over here on the warmer end or in her aspen bedding, and then part of it over here on the cooler end. And if it gets wet, it's easy. It's cardboard, so it's easy to throw away. All right, so next we're going to weigh her and put her into her enclosure, and then we'll move it into the quarantine space. This is the transport tub that I brought her home in. Silent Hill Reptiles did an excellent job through this whole process of me obtaining Nyssa. I first became aware of Silent Hill Reptiles during the 2020 Southeast Carpet Fest auction, where they were mentioned by From the Ground Up podcast. Joe and Melissa mentioned that Silent Hill Reptiles had a voucher in the Carpet Fest auction and that they were friends of theirs. And so I was keeping a very close eye on the voucher because they had some corn snakes that appealed to me. Since they were recommended by Port City Pythons, I thought that they would be reputable to work with, and I have not been disappointed. I didn't win that auction, but I went ahead and made arrangements to obtain Nyssa from them directly, and they've been phenomenal to work with. Their communication throughout this process has been outstanding. They've been staying in constant contact with me while we've waited for a shipping window to open so that the weather was safe to ship Nyssa to me. I'm in Colorado, they're in Pennsylvania. It's been very, very cold in Colorado until just the last week or so, where it's just starting to be above freezing. So this week we had a window where it was about 36 to 40 degrees, and I was fortunate enough to get some of the snakes in that I've been waiting on, some of them since last fall. They just communicated with me throughout the whole process, and I always ask breeders how they keep their snakes so that I can keep the snakes the same way initially when they arrive here, so that it helps ease that transition and reduce stress. Well, they went one step further, and they told me that they were aware that we do behavior studies, that we do enrichment trials and training with the snakes, and they wanted to know how I planned to keep her once she got here. And I told them, and so they set her up in a 10-gallon aquarium at their facility. With some hides and bedding and enrichment items and things to climb on, so that she was already exposed to those things before she got here, which is why instead of keeping her in a tub initially, she's going directly into her living space. And I just thought that was great of them to ask. They sent me every piece of information that I could have wanted on her. Additional photos of her, and the shipping container was absolutely perfect. I got some shots of that when I was at FedEx this morning. Labeled appropriately, she was packed in it appropriately. And it was shipped through a reputable shipping company. So I just couldn't be any happier with Silent Hill Reptiles. than I am. And they sent me detailed paperwork. I'm very, very thrilled to have her here. We are going to weigh her and get her arrival weight. She's a little bit scared, of course, because she doesn't know what the heck is going on. She just got here. And if I didn't already say it, she was hatched July 15th, I believe. Yes, July 15th, 2019. And Nyssa's name actually came from the original run of Doctor Who when Tom Baker was the doctor. And then I believe the character Nyssa, who was one of his companions, also traveled with Peter Davison's doctor. That's where Nyssa's name came from, was Doctor Who. And this is the transport tub that I put her in at FedEx when I took her out of the box. It's about an hour or more drive home for me. I like to do the unboxing at FedEx and make sure the snakes are all right. And then I put them in a travel container for the drive home. Hi, sweetie. I know, it's very scary and you have no idea what's going on. And she's going into blue. So that doesn't make the transition any easier for her. And once she's set up in here, we're going to leave her alone until after she sheds. 27 grams. So she's 27 grams on arrival, and she was hatched in July. I believe that that's right on track, because as you who follow my channel know, I have Tuvok and Normal from Port City Pythons, Joe and Melissa. Those snakes are thriving. They're super healthy. They arrived super healthy. They're doing great. And Tuvok is about 29 grams, and Normal is up to 33 grams. And so I think her arriving after just being shipped, being in blue, at 27 grams is just right on track. It's just exactly where she should be. This was the hide I had in her transport container, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in here along with all of her other things. Usually I like to put something in there that smells familiar to them, so this is what she arrived in, and I'm just going to set it in here so that she's got some familiar smells as she acclimates to her new surroundings. I know that there's a lot in this enclosure, but corn snakes are really, really active. They do like to burrow, they like to climb, and they like to move around a lot. I also wanted her to have lots and lots of options and as much environmental stimulation as possible, because it helps her passively habituate not only to her surroundings, but it was going to help her slowly desensitize to getting used to exposure to novel items. So the way that I like to set them up is she's got plenty of places to burrow and hide and get away from the activity that's outside of her terrarium. However, she also has the option to be out in the open, to climb up high, to lie on top of things, to perch, to drape, if she wants to see what's going on. And that's how I allow them to passively habituate. There'll be a lot of activity around where I'm going to put her in quarantine, which means that we will be walking around her a lot. And so she can hide from that activity or not. That choice is up to her. She has the option, again, to be out in the open, active and climbing and moving around, or lying out basking, or she has the option to find some place to hunker down and burrow under substrate or hide in one of the many hides I've got in here. So she's got 2 toilet tissue rolls, which are cardboard. She has a cardboard box. It's an old Starbucks Cool Lime Refresher box. That used to be my favorite drink until they discontinued it. And this is one of my last Via Cool Lime Refresher boxes that I had left, but it works as a disposable hide for her. She's got a moss box with a hide on top of it, and then she's got a little wooden hide over here on the warm side. She has a lot of options. And so it's just up to her how she uses these options. And she is probably going to hide for quite a while since she's just going into an ecdysis cycle. Now, as far as how I secure, and this was another toilet tissue roll I had in her transport tub. I'll clean the transport tub and sterilize it for use with another snake. But since I'm not going to reuse the cardboard, I'm just going to throw it in here as well. It's just another thing that she can climb around on. The lids that I like to use, and the terrariums I like to use, are the ones that either lock into place, and those will have snaps on the back, or the ones that slide into place like this one. And so this slides into place, and it's secure secure under these ridges and you cannot lift it up. And then it comes with a locking pin that goes in here. And you can't slide it out, and there's no way to lift it up. So she is safe and secure in here. I like to go one additional step for her safety. This really isn't going to prevent her from escaping. There's no need for that because this lid slides in and can't be lifted up, and it's very solid. But in case anything gets dropped on this screen, or a cat or a dog jumps on this screen, or once she's out of quarantine, if another snake climbs across it, I just don't feel like the screen that comes with it is very solid. And this is a metal mesh screen that you can get really at any pet store, PetSmart, Petco. You can order it online, Chewy or Amazon. And I like to put it, I just buy the one that's for the 10-gallon aquarium, and I like to put it right on top of the existing screen, and it makes it so much stronger. This way, if something were to fall on this or another animal climbs on it, it isn't going to bust through her screen and endanger her at all. So she's pretty much all set up. Obviously, when I move her to her quarantine location, this will be plugged in. And again, it's about right here. It's underneath the side of the enclosure that has the aspen bedding, and it's underneath just a small part of her moss box, and then it's underneath her hide. So part of her moss box will be warm and part of it will be cool. I like to give them a lot of temperature options. And then this will go right on top. And again, this is a UVB bowl, and it will allow her to have some sunshine during the daytime if she wants it. Now, I'm only going to have this on during the day, and if she wants to come out, get some sunlight, bask in it, she can. And then it'll be turned off at night. If she doesn't want that light, there's plenty of places for her to hide and burrow and get out of the light. And it's only going to be on part of the enclosure. So part of it is just going to have whatever natural room light is in the room. And she will be in a room with natural room light. I was just about to move her to her location, and I forgot to mention that you should hook up a thermostat to your heat lamp or to your heat mat. She's going to have a jumpstart thermostat with a probe inside the enclosure hooked up to her heat mat, so that if it does for some reason get too hot in there, it turns her heat mat off. And it's very possible that soon that's going to happen. In the summer here in Colorado, we don't have air conditioning. It's not common for homes in Colorado to have central air, so it can get quite warm inside the house, even with the ceiling fans and the windows open. So it's very possible that she will not even need this heat mat in the summer. And the jumpstart thermostat that we use will automatically turn this off if it gets too hot in there, if it gets above the temperature that we set it at. And I normally set the Cornsnake hotspots at about 83 degrees. I like the hotspot to be between 80 and 85, absolutely no higher than 85 degrees. And then as far as the sun lamp, it will be on a timer so that it should kick on automatically in the morning and give her sunlight. Hello, good morning, sunshine. And then it should shut off just around sunset. And it should be in sync with the natural light cycle that we have for whatever season we're in. And I will adjust that timer as necessary. So please, please, please don't forget that anything you hook up light-wise or heat-wise to your snake's enclosure needs to be somehow controlled. And you might not always be there to physically check the temperatures, although you should double check the temperatures with a heat gun like this. So even though I'm going to have this hooked up to a thermostat, I will periodically check it. So right now, the heat right here on this surface is 75 degrees, but I'll periodically check the heat inside her enclosure even though it's on a thermostat, because those things can malfunction and you just want to make sure that your animal's as safe as possible. I can't think of anything else to share with you right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at behavioreducationllc@gmail.com or check out my Facebook page. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I also have a website, behavioreducation.org. And if you have questions about behavior, training, and enrichment, please direct those towards me. I'm happy to answer any of those about not just snakes, but I also work with other animals such as horses, dogs, and cats. We also have some pigs here, chickens, and I've worked with all sorts of mammals and a few birds. Right now, my main focus is the snakes. I'm working on a lot of training activities, enrichment activities, and behavior studies with the corn snakes and the carpet pythons that we have here. So please feel free to address any questions you have to me. If you have specific questions about corn snake morphs, genetics, breeding, if you're interested in obtaining a corn snake, I absolutely recommend Silent Hill Reptiles, and I absolutely recommend Port City Pythons. I've had nothing but awesome experiences with them, and I've been nothing but happy with the animals that I've received from them. So I do not breed snakes. I study their behavior, and I do snake training, and I do enrichment preference testing with the snakes. So again, contact me if you're interested in those things. But if you have specific questions about breeding corn snakes, raising baby corn snakes, feeding baby corn snakes, transitioning adult corn snakes, anything that has to do with health, breeding, morphs, genetics, information specifically about Pantherophis guttatus that's not behavior, enrichment, and training related, please contact Silent Hill Reptiles or Port City Pythons. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, everybody, please remember to always be kind and love your animals.